Hey, Lance Mechanics here today. I want to talk about what it's like to be at a dealership versus an independent. And it's very interesting that my viewers want this subject and the general public wants this subject. And the general public may not know that a vast majority of mechanics have not done both. It's surprising, and if they did do it, it was for a very limited time in each area. So in the comments, you may see technicians fighting for one way or the other. I have my opinions, other mechanics have their opinions, we got to respect it. But we're going to go through this today, and it may turn into a pros or cons video. This may turn into a 20 or 30 minute video, or it may not. Just depends how much I feel like talking today. So right off the bat, I just want to say 90% of you aren't subscribed, so it really helps if you subscribe and hit that like button. I hate the shameless plug, but channel's growing and it's growing quite fast, so thank you for all the love and support. So now, let's get back to the topic. This is a touchy one for a lot of people. So me personally, I started out at a dealership. It's quite the opposite for a lot of people. And then I went to a private garage, and then I initially finished off at the dealership, and now I'm a heavy-duty mechanic. Quite a journey. So there's a lot of things you need to know, whether you're a technician or you're the general public. Each has its benefits. I'm not going to show B-roll here because I hate those. I hate that YouTube format that they're pushing right now, where you just have some random AI talking and it's B-roll footage. It brings nothing to the table. It just overwhelms your senses. So I'm going to do this backwards because I started out at a dealership. A lot of people do the opposite. They start out at a private garage. My first initial foray into a dealership was overwhelming. I don't care what anybody says, going into a big OEM is overwhelming. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of traffic. People are generally miserable in the dealership setting. They throw on that fake smile, but they're dying inside. That's my theory. Wow, talk about clicky. Dealerships are the most clicky thing on the planet. You ever see that South Park episode where they're smelling their own farts? It's like that. That's what I picture a dealership, and there's gonna be people fighting me in the comments on that. But when you live that every day, you don't see it. You start to think you're the best. You start to believe what you say, and I've heard a lot of crap come out of a dealership's technician's mouth, especially mine. Some days I just didn't want to deal with customers, so I spoon-fed them what I needed to do to get them out of my hair. It's a fact. You'll see it in other industries too. Don't anybody deny that. We lie a lot. Us as technicians, we do lie a lot when it comes to customers because we just don't want to deal with the bullshit. And I may swear a lot in this video, so get over that. So when I got to the dealership, I started out as a service advisor. I got to work the counter. So for all those people who are always fighting me in the comments, listen, I worked the counter. I did warranty. I did parts. I did the service. I did that for a good year and a half. So I know all the drama, trust me. So I did that, and then they moved me to the express lube, and I started doing the front counter and the express lube. Pain in the butt. But I got into that momentum of working fast, working hard, and you know what? No benefits. The harder you work, the more they force down your throat, especially if you're good. At a dealership, the better you get, the less money you make. It's such a contradiction, and the general public doesn't quite understand this. When you're at the dealer, the more skilled you are, the less you make. And it's contrary to what everybody believes. You think if you're up here as a technician, you'd be making mega oozles of money? No, quite the opposite. And I worked with a lot of techs who were smart guys, let's say honorable. They would take on jobs that nobody else wanted, and that's unfortunate because at the end of the day, they hurt their paycheck. And some people may say it's not about the money. Listen, if you're going to the dealer is the pinnacle of making money. I don't care what anybody says. That's where you reach the next level. An independent garage really can't do that unless you own the independent garage. So a lot of guys they'll argue in the comments. I mean, this channel is about comments. Read the comments. This may be a popular video, it may not be. So if you're going to the dealership and you're not there to make money, some guys may go for the skill sets. There's a lot in a dealership. My favorite was dealer training. I never received any in my life. I thought it was a waste of time. The dealer training for automotive is a joke. When you go to do hybrid systems, I heard, they just teach you all the safety stuff. That's great. I can still work on hybrids. I know how to be safe. I had my independent training. or they teach you these weird testing methods which may apply to that OEM vehicle. I have my own ways. Being a technician, you don't have to follow what the dealership says. You can get it done your way, and if it's an effective repair, go for it. Pretty simple. So one of the other things I noticed about the dealership is, because you're working on one brand, that's all you're good on. This may be controversial in the comments, but you take, I'm just going to use Honda for example. You take somebody who's lived and breathed Honda for 20 years, you throw them at a Ford or an independent garage, they're going to trip. They're going to trip a lot. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to break a lot of things because they're not used to having variety. So I left the dealership. I went to the private garage. I'll come back to this topic, but being at the dealership, you're stuck with one brand. You're very good at it, I hope. But I generally found that the technicians who spent time at the independent garage were often better than the guy who had 30 years experience on the OEM. So there's a saying that people don't quite get right. Jack of all trades, master of none, but often better than the master of one. So the guy who had the variety of experience often came out on top of the guy who spent 30 years at the dealership. That's just my perspective. Again, people will disagree. You'll read the comments. So it's kind of that thing where you're shoehorning yourself into one brand, and yes, you may be the best at that brand. And I do personally think that as time goes on, you're going to see less variety of aftermarket places, and they're going to focus on one brand. So in my city already, there's guys who just focus on Fords or Dodges, and yeah, that's great. You're going to get your best bang for your buck doing that, avoiding the dealership. So yes. Another great thing of being at the dealership is you have access to all the TSBs, the recalls, and I argue with people this in comments all the time is dealerships do not release all the TSBs. I am going on 15 years later and I still see a lot of stuff Hyundai and Kia has not released, and I guarantee you Honda's done the same. And for people who don't believe me, Honda implemented something called watermarks on their TSBs and recalls because somebody gave a customer information, like they literally printed out the TSB and they handed it to a customer and it was used against them in a lawsuit. So if this information was free, why would Honda do that? So that's some food for thought if you get this far in the video. Honestly, TSBs are, they'll release some, but they're not going to release all. So that's another thing is sometimes it depends. This could go into another topic is at a dealership, depending which tech gets your vehicle will determine the cost and how that thing is repaired. Unfortunately in the world of mechanics, not everybody's made the same, not everybody's quick. I could have a bad day where something that on my good day would have taken me 5 minutes to figure out, but on my bad day that could have taken all day. It's the way things go. We're not perfect. Troubleshooting is an art and it doesn't always work out for us. So that's another topic, but private garage, dealer garage is going to end up all the same way. I may be ranting here, so I got to get back on track. Keep drinking my pop here. Focus. Focus, Lance. So the dealership, coming into the dealership was weird. I had a good mentor. He was an absolute arseheart, but he was right on so much. He didn't have a filter, and the management hated him for that. If you have an opinion in a dealership, you are putting a target on your head. This is not something a lot of people want to talk about. If you're opinionated, you don't go with the flow. You push back or you call them out on their bullshit, they generally axe you. The dealership wants numbers. You may think you're special at the end of the day. They got your back. You're a number at the end of the day. A lot of places are like that. Luckily where I am right now, I don't feel like a number. It's friggin' amazing. And you gotta see it. The sooner you realize that they're gonna treat you like, I don't know what the term is. I'm not gonna come up with the terms. I hate analogies some days. You're expendable. Just remember, at a dealership, you are expendable no matter how much smoke they blow up your butt. I've seen it year after year. You're excited when you see someone else get canned because you know it's not you. And I've never seen such a high turnover rate for such a skilled trade, and general public won't understand this. When I can work at somewhere for 5 years and you see 20 technicians go through the door, that's astronomical. That's like 3 months, 4 or 5 months at the best. Like you're seeing 2 or 3 guys a year go. It's unreal. There should not be such a high turnover rate. And then people in the comments are going to be like, Well, I don't recommend this trade to anybody. I would never recommend automotive for anybody long term. And that may confuse people, and I'll explain that in the end of the video. So it's such a weird mentality at the dealership, and I gotta pause and think. I won't edit this out. Sometimes you just gotta think. And it's clicky and all that other stuff. The drama. Oh my goodness, the drama. So again, I'm always trying to explain to people that technicians, the mechanics in the back, whatever term you want to use, we don't make the door rate. So if you're, let's just random numbers here, your door rate is $100. The technician is making 20% or less of that. So let's say $100 and making $20, and on average, that's pretty damn low. I see a lot of the public, oh, the dealership charged me this much and that mechanic ripped me off. I'm like, well, no, the mechanic didn't rip you off. You paid the labor rate. The mechanic made a small percentage of that. Don't blame the mechanic. Stop blaming the mechanic. The part of the video here is mechanics at a dealership compared to a private garage or flat rate. The private garage may have incentives, bonuses, but the flat rate is your pay. So, trying to find a good example here. I just want to grab something. So let's try to think of this. A brake job pays 1.5 hours. For you, the customer, that may be $300 in labor. Just random numbers here. The technician will make like $40 on that if they're lucky. The rest goes to the dealership. That's flat rate. So that technician made 1.5 hours. Start off in the morning. Now he's got to fill the other 6.5 hours of his day just to make 8 hours. It doesn't always happen, and people don't understand. I tell people, imagine going to work for 8 hours and you're only making 6 or 7 a day. And they have a hard time grasping this concept. That's the dealer. Most dealers are flat rate, and if they're not flat rate, it's because something happened. It might be under new management. They might advertise, oh, we want no pressure, no sales gimmicks and all that crap. It's usually because the dealership was failing, it's under new management, and second that dealership gets traction again running, they're going to put those technicians flat rate. It's all a publicity stunt at the end of the day, I find. There's so many topics I can think of today. So yes, technicians are flat rate, and I loved flat rate. I was an absolute savage. But that's because of different reasons. I had variety. I didn't focus on just one brand, and the other technicians like to stay with what they knew. So it put me ahead of them. Whatever. So yeah, flat rate is an interesting beast, especially warranty. So if you're watching this video as an apprentice, you will do so much warranty. And as a customer, it is a swear word in our heads. So imagine, let's just say chores. You're paid $20 to clean your room. Whatever, you have to clean your room, you made the mess, whatever. You clean your room, you're paid $20. Under warranty, you're paid $10 to clean your room. It's a reduced rate. It's completely BS. Labor times are a joke. They've just been running with the same labor times from previous generations for the last 30 years. There is absolutely no studies done unless it's a recall, because they want to get all their money back out of it. And as recalls go on, recalls are even less than warranty time, believe it or not. As recalls go on, they slowly reduce it because they're watching the analytics. Oh, I said that funny. To see what technicians did. So eventually they'll drop the labor times. I remember when the Honda piston rings came out, it was like 13 hours. It might have been 16 at some point, but 13 hours. And by the time it ended, it was 11.2. So that's 1.8 hours they shaved off of the recall by the end. And people will be like, oh, that's not much. It takes more than a day to do that damn recall. It's on your hoist for at least 16 hours and you're only paid 11.2. Do the math. You can't get ahead on warranty. It's very, very hard. And there are some savages out there who are pretty good, but they're going to cut corners. They're going to have comebacks. The whole name of the game is not to have comebacks, because the dealer uses that. They hang it above your head. Oh, that's another good topic. This video is going in 30 minutes. You can you could be the best bridge builder in the world. You can build 100 of the biggest, best, most amazing bridges in the world. You suck one weenie, that's all you'll be known for. The dirty weenie sucky. That's all automotive in a nutshell, flat rate or garage. But the dealer really hangs that over your head. It's abusive, like, oh, you just had this comeback. I'm like, well, it was, yeah, because you rushed me through 30 jobs that day and we were friggin' running on empty. No, you had that comeback, this little comeback. And the amount of disrespect you get from a service advisor when you have a comeback is, I get it. I was a service advisor. Again, They're going to be dealing with an angry customer, fair enough. But for them to project it on you is not fair. You already deal with a mass amount of the burden. You're there, you're paying for your tools. You're technically kind of renting a bay, because at the end of the day, when there's no work, you're not getting paid, so why be there? You deal with all the comebacks. You have the responsibility if something goes wrong and someone gets hurt. It's completely unfair. Now you have to deal with an angry service advisor, which may or may not be your fault, fair enough. But that's another thing. The service advisors in a dealership. You're the back-breaking work. You bring in all the money. And for some reason, service advisors will make more than you as a technician. Again, touchy subject, check the comments. I deal with a lot of angry service advisors in my comments. And you're gonna be doing like 99% of the work. You hand the keys off and the customer hands the keys to the service advisor, and the service advisor is the hero, not the mechanic, because they're the ones dealing with the customer. All the customer sees is the service advisor. They don't know what you look like. They don't know who you are. They don't know your life story. They just know that it's fixed. Service advisor handed me the keys, took the money. You're your number, your no name. You may have your certificate on the wall. And so I did in my last video, a vast majority of dealerships will take a picture of all the staff except the service staff, like the mechanics. So I keep saying that. So at a dealership setting, you got to get used to not being in control of everything involved in your job. So even at the private garage, I was able to control all that. But in a dealership, you're just focusing on your work. Parts department, I got nothing to say about parts department. They're pretty brutalized. I've never had any issues with them. Some people have egos in parts. It's normal. It's nice because you get to talk to them, take a break, and they're in the same boat. They're brutalized. It is what it is. Yeah, so the dealership, you got to get used to being not in control of all your work orders. This is just off topic, but I've dealt with a lot of service advisors editing my notes because they didn't like what I put, but I put stuff to cover my ass legally, and if they have to edit it, we're into some big trouble here. And I've brought it up many times, and I made a big stink about it because you got to protect your butt as a mechanic. You're looking out for you. At the end of the day, the dealership doesn't have your back. If it's a mechanical issue that they could pay for, you're going to get reamed out, no doubt. But geez, whew, don't go down that road. Cover your butt, take pictures if you suspect it. Yeah, so what else? Oh my goodness, again, flat rate, you're going to locate. You're going to deal with a lot of, I'm going to get into the more mechanics versus mechanics aspect now. Being in flat rate, it's cutthroat. It's going to be a 40-minute video. Cutthroat, you're going to have guys throw you under the bus. You're going to have comebacks that aren't comebacks because another guy made it a comeback. You're going to have guys playing games with the system where some places have dispatch through PBS or Reynolds and Reynolds, all these stupid programs. And one I used was locate. Everything's in the queue. Waiters are always priority. That's another thing. Yeah, waiters are always a priority, and you're going to have like 12 waiters if you're a busy dealership right in the morning, and you're going to see, on this system at least, technicians looking around, seeing who's locating. They're going to wait till they see everybody locate and bring the cars in, and then they're going to locate themselves, and they're going to locate a job that has been allotted more time, because waiters are priority, and something that has a high allotted time generally is a gravy job. You're going to see this. You're going to see shit like that all the time. You're going to see guys who get buddy-buddy with a tower dispatch. GM's famous for tower. They set it up. That guy will assign jobs to everybody based on skill levels. And again, automotive is very subjective. If you got a new apprentice, yes, you can kind of get the gist of it, see who's better at what. But when you have someone deciding where money goes and what you make, it's completely unfair. How do you, like I said, that's when you have a tower, the person who's smart tends to lose the amount of money because you're not going to give an incredibly hard troubleshooting job to a guy who can only do brakes and suspension. So the guy who plays dumb is going to make more money than the extremely talented, hardworking diagnostician. Nails. Yeah, that's dealership life. You can be honorable and say, yeah, I want to be the best there is. Fortunately, if you're going for money, you're kind of shooting yourself in your foot, in my opinion. Again, you're going to have people disagreeing in the comments. Ooh. So yeah, that's dealership life. There's so much I can talk on. These videos get long, and depending if you're still watching here, hey, thanks, man. So my experience in private garage was not perfect, but generally positive. I showed up the first day, the owner shook my hand, showed me around. They kept things simple. He's just like, yeah, I want to watch you for a few days, see how you handle things and go from there. Buttoned me up with mechanics, another mechanic there. They showed me the system, they showed me the ropes. Positive, honestly positive. And as time went on, I did prefer the private garage setting, but I came to realize very quickly, you know, like I was on a bonus system. Like I think it was for every hour sold, I got another $6. So within 2 months, I broke that system and then they had to change it because I was making like $500-600 a week. And then again, that's, the owner deemed it, oh, he's making too much money. But meanwhile, owners, I find are really there's something else, whether it be a dealership owner or a private garage owner, they get into these weird trains of thought here. Like if I'm doing well, they're not doing well. Well, it's the complete opposite. If I'm doing well, they're doing really well. And they don't grasp it because a lot of the time they're living paycheck to paycheck, believe it or not, even though they're bringing in wicked amounts of money. It's just they got the lifestyle to go with it. This is gonna be the negatives. So I broke the system. I made like $600 a week in bonus, and do the math there. It's like $6 an hour. So they reduced it, go figure, because I was doing too well. And I slowed down because, well, I'm like, well, screw this. I'm like, I was only here for a short amount of time and I broke their system. Like, how hard is it to sell work? In that situation, I was able to bring a car in. It was an oil change. I was going over it. Private garage, I was going over it 100% because I had just left a dealership and now I was in the private garage. Went over it. I'd find everything and it didn't matter the make or model. I'd look into the history. I spent an extra 20 minutes, especially if it wasn't a waiter. And I'd get everything lined up. I'd find all the services, everything it needed, and then I would talk to the customer. But what I'd do, I'd be like, hey, can we break this up over a year? Fluids are important, but you know, hey, they're degraded, you're due for service, but we can go a little longer. Here's the important parts. These are safety items. Let's do the safety items first. We can hold off on this and this and this, save you on alignment and stuff like that. I was able to talk to the customer. That I loved. Can you do that at a dealership? No. But that allowed me to accelerate with dealing with people and selling what I needed to sell to get my bonuses. So, but generally, positive experiences. Generally, I found it was less clicky. The bonus structure did make some guys a little more toxic towards me, but they were still friendly at the end of the day. I had questions, and they were able to give me answers. That's another thing. Giving you the answer as an apprentice or an adult or whatever you want to call it, licensed electrician or mechanic, there's a time and a place. When nobody's at each other's throats, I do generally believe you got to let them struggle a little bit. But if you're two licensed guys and, hey, I had this before, look into this, try this, don't change the part, but this is what I had to do to find it, that's all right to do. Some people may disagree. Sometimes you got to help everybody else get along faster. In a private garage or a dealership, that's not going to happen. They want you to fail and be on that job all day while they make more money. General viewers might not understand this. Oh my God, so many things to talk about. I just got to ponder. I said, I bounce around. It's wild. This video is going to be 45 minutes. Yeah, so at the private garage, there was less of that. There was still some animosity because I was doing so well, but it could be different in your setting. One of the benefits I found about being at the private garage is I worked on everything. Like I said, that little quote there, jack of all trades, master of none, but often better than master of one. That's huge. The variety of cars being brought in from rotten out Sebrings and Impalas to friggin' Maseratis, like everything in my city. Everything shows up at the private garage, especially if you got a good reputation. So I was just getting bombarded to the point where I got bored of suspension and I started just tackling all the no starts. That's just what I wanted to do. I knew where I wanted to be in a couple years and I said, heck with it. I'm going to get good at troubleshooting and electrical because I knew my end goal was going to be the dealership. I seen the writing on the walls, like I knew where my money was going to be, so I just said, hell, I have a plan, dealership, end goal. So I worked really, really hard and it was interesting because at the private garage, I got to know customers. That's a bad thing in my opinion, because if you get to know your customers, they're coming back too often. Even if it's totally legit and they just have things or they have multiple cars, it's like no offense, but I don't want to see you. And they always got a chuckle out of that. I'm like, it's seriously, because every time you come here, you're going to be paying and you're going to hate me after a while. You know, little fun interactions like that with a customer, you can have them at a dealership, but they keep you in the back generally. Or if you are going to talk to the customer, it's on the phone, 100%. So that's a private garage. Like, it was fun. Positive experiences. Owners are cuckoo. And I got to work on everything and I got to develop skills. People say you get really good going at a dealership. I think it's quite the opposite. At the dealership, you're more steady, focused, streamlined into what you're going to be doing. You eventually become at the dealership so long that you just know what's going to be wrong with a car. And if you don't, you have tech line to fall back onto. And if people don't know what a tech line is I can literally call a guy sitting somewhere in the world, very smart, and he will give me the answer of what's wrong with the car. Or if it's warranty, he gives me permission to throw parts at it. That's huge. I didn't touch about that, but having a car under warranty at a dealership basically gives you a buffer zone of being a hack. I should have gone with that on the first part of the video, but it literally lets you be a hack. A bad mechanic, call expensive parts that may or may not fix it or get it by another month until the symptom reappears. You can't do that at a private garage. You got to be accurate and accurate. You can't guesstimate. You see it on YouTube where the trend right now is, oh, the dealership threw all these parts at it, yada, 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 and then the private garage comes and fixes it with a $10 part. The videos are staged. And there's always so much going on in the background. I completely disagree with them. I hate them. I have seen some hack stuff if you've seen here on the channel and it sucks. But yeah, oh, geez. The trend has to stop, because I will say this, when I was at the garage, I fixed everything that the garages couldn't fix. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a brand and a private garage can't fix that specific brand, it ends up at the dealership 100% of the time. You think a customer's dumb and they're just going to bounce it from garage to garage to garage until they figure out what's wrong with it? No, they're going to go right to the dealership, because at the end of the day, we get things fixed. I don't expect a private garage to know everything. I know I sent a lot of things to a dealership. Like, I'd be like, oh, well, I can't program these blind spot modules or this keyless access or this crap. I'm like, well, it's got to go to the dealership. My boss would be like, oh, you're sure? You're sure? Because we got to tow it and we got to do this and that. And I'm like, yeah, 100% sure. Sure enough, they tow it, get it fixed, whatever, it's back. I'm like, what's the problem, man? If you want to be able to do some of this stuff, you may have to invest in some expensive scan tools, because you just lost on a tow, you just lost on the key programming. That's another thing, tools. Sorry for the bouncing around. Dealerships and private garages do not like spending money on tools. I remember the dealership owner I worked for, he had to spend $2 million just on the BMW tool room alone. $2 million just to be able to have a BMW dealership. And I consider air conditioning and heating a tool, and man, they do not like turning up the heat in the winter. And the one I worked at, the big dealership, which was his record producer, he couldn't even spend 20 grand on an air conditioner. They're cheap. Owners are cheap. You're going to see that a lot. But tools, private garage, tools, same thing. You're a mechanic, you're going to buy all your stuff. That's 100%. It's part of the reality of the trade. It's going to be like that. You're going to spend a lot of money, private garage or dealership. The private garage, you're going to spend more. Like at Honda, I could get by with a 10, a 12, a 14, a 19, and a 24-inch wrench or everything, and an impact. And maybe some screw. All right, back to the old-fashioned. So my Pocket 3 overheated. I never used it that long. Yeah, so I've been talking for a while. I figure I'll end it here. I may do a part 2 at some point. Depending how positive a response this video seems. If you're an apprentice, take everything with a grain of salt. This is all from my perspective. It could be totally different for you. Automotive, there's no such thing as a set path. You could have a positive experience in the industry, and I have guys say like, oh my God, you need to get out where you are. I'm like, whereas the vast majority, they're experiencing the same stuff. Like, again, you got to experience it. And if I had a recommendation is get your 4 years in automotive, get your license, get your ASCs, get into heavy equipment. Heavy equipment is where the money's at. Fleet service is where the money's at. Electrical is. These skills you will develop with your hands in automotive will bring you far in life. It'll save you money down the road, especially if you decide not to continue in it. It's skills you will have for a lifetime. I strongly recommend just using automotive as a stepping stone. It's that simple. So if you like this video or you like this style, post in the comments. I I'm doing a variety of content on the channel because that's how you grow. I know a vast majority of you love this stuff, so keep supporting me. I appreciate it. And Lance Mechanics, have a good one.